Wait, hold up. Are we recording? Okay, so a number of topics that I wanted to respond to. I never really do things like this, and I'm pretty low tech, so please be forgiving. And I'll try to be brief. First, on being a nocturnal creature, to be honest with you, I think I don't really get going until about 10 o'clock in the evening. And it's interesting because that was tough being a mom, but also helpful because, you know, having to be up at night, hey, I'm up anyway. So I got some things done actually when I was, you know, on mom duty. Also, it really helps when you're a creative type, when you're an actor, singer, or whatever, to be up late. That's when all your crazy creative types are out, so it's been pretty useful to me actually. I always have that night where I have to stay up all night creating something. Don't know why, just is. So that's on being a nocturnal creature. Okay, next up. Prom. Yeah, man. So this is re-prom. Yeah, prom was a waste of my time. I wish I hadn't even bothered going. You know, my parents gave me the option when I got in high school. If you hear about trips that are going on, if you want to go, you can go. I was smart enough for my 16th birthday. They were like, do you want a sweet 16 or do you want to travel abroad? Travel abroad! Thanks very much. I'll see you guys later. I'll take lots of pictures. I was smart enough to do that. But then I did succumb to the pressures of prom, of going to prom. I was that tall chick no one wanted to dance with, so, and I was kind of goofy, but I didn't know that was an asset at the time. So, yeah, prom was a waste of time and money. Oh, and also I had that whole, I wasn't really accepted by the black kids kind of thing. So I was in this kind of weird space. All right, backtrack. So I grew up in the suburbs, but yeah, obviously I'm brown. So I kind of had this thing going on where I wasn't quite, like I would hang out with the Jewish girls and stuff, but I'd never get invited to bat mitzvahs. You know what I mean? And I was cool with them and everything, but at the same token, that meant to the black girls I wasn't black enough. You know, so I was kind of in this limbo space. So prom was this opportunity to get in with the black kids, you know. I had a couple girls who were like my girls who didn't even worry about that kind of thing, and they were cool. So, but I wanted to be, they hung out with all the black kids, you know, and I never was down. So I thought, oh, prom is my opportunity. No one asked me to go to prom, of course. So, yeah, here's my opportunity to hang with black kids. So I invite this kid in particular, and then after, because he was almost as tall as me, so I was like, okay, you'll do. So we have an alright time, and afterwards I'm like, okay, so maybe this is my chance to capitalize on the situation. So let's hang out with everybody. Let's go out. When are you guys all hanging out? Can I hang out with you guys? So needless to say, this turned into this situation. He was going around telling his friends that I'm like sweating him and stuff. So yeah, I wish I hadn't even bothered going. I could have just hung out with my girls some other time. Anyway, what else? Yeah, both times too. Junior and senior prom. Senior prom again, didn't have a date, of course. Could have just stayed home. And hung out with my girls some other time. Anyway, so yeah, that's prom in a nutshell. And what's funny about that too is that now my daughter sees, we live out of America right now, and my daughter sees all these stereotypes of what American life is like, everything prom, things like that, and she's just so enchanted with the whole idea. And actually she'd probably fit in better with that whole thing. And times are different now, you know? But anyway, so that's prom. Okay, next up. What do we have here? Teachers outside of school. You know, I have this funny thing with teachers outside of school, especially nowadays, because I unwittingly became a teacher myself. and I have this weird experience of being a 99%er at a private school in Europe who's also a teacher there. It's pretty interesting. So yeah, all these rich kids and stuff and these rich families, and I'm nowhere near them. It's just an interesting experience. So I wind up, at being a foreigner as well here, you wind up hanging out with all the foreigners. And because my daughter is at a foreign school because she speaks English and I wanted her not I didn't want her to miss a year. So I put her at an English school. So I wind up hanging out with all the foreigners, you know what I mean? So I hang out with all the teachers, of course, and the thing that puts my mind at ease is that the teachers are real people. Because I really feel like the world is getting out of hand with over-testing the kids and over-pressuring the kids and not letting the kids be kids, and that's why we have all these problems, because you're putting all these adult expectations on these kids, and you should just be letting them be. You know what I mean? I have this constant thing with my daughter. On one hand, do your homework. You have a test coming up. You know you do. You need to study. Well, at the same token, I know I wasn't as good a student. Stuff wasn't as pressured as when I was a kid. And I had that constant dichotomy of telling her all these things, knowing I wasn't as good a student. She's a way better student than I ever was. But at the same token, having this dialogue, I know it's too much work for you guys. I know you shouldn't have all this work. You're just a kid. So I always had this going back and forth on that, you know? So I hope that makes sense. Yeah. So that's teachers outside of school, right? And I myself am a teacher outside of school, right? So as a teacher outside of school myself, I teach voice and performing arts, things like that. And I feel it's important to keep working. I feel it's important to audition. I feel it's important to participate in creative things. Hi, HitReCord. And show students that there's always a way to cultivate your art. My teachers were always working, and they were doctors and things like that. So I respect that, and I try to perpetuate that. Okay? Social classes. Yeah, you know, social classes in schools, jocks, things like that. You know what's funny about that? When I was coming up, I never really subscribed to that idea. I always thought people were people, and I always hung out with whoever was cool. However, at the same token, I found that I didn't have a clique. So I did miss out on a lot of parties and things like that just because I wasn't in the right clique or whatever, even though I hung out with everybody kind of during school. So I don't know how that happened. And also, I don't know if you saw another post I put on here. I grew up in the suburbs, as you can probably tell by the way I talk, oh my God. But then of course I learned how to talk like this as well because I was trying to be down or whatever. So yeah, that's this thing we do to ourselves, isn't it? So I found in high school I was always trying to find out if I was black enough or if I was suburb enough or whatever. And never being quite enough. And now that I'm older and realizing how I did kind of hang with everybody, how much of an asset that was to me moving out of my country and everything, and how silly it was, the idea. And even now that I have to deal with this private school, even though I'm not private school money, having to deal with that, I put this pressure on myself. I put this idea on myself, and I keep myself out of social situations because I'm not the right shade of green. And that's really my own doing. It's not really anyone else's fault. It's my fault. I realize that because really everyone's been kind of nice to me, and I really don't care what people say too much. So yeah, I know how to behave in social situations. So I shouldn't put that idea on myself, and I should put myself out there more. And I've been trying to do that. Yeah.